The ancient brass elevator cage grinds upward, a symphony of tortured metal and strained cables. A single flickering bulb casts long dancing shadows across the cramped space. Inside, a figure stands unnervingly still, her eyes like twin abysses. The air grows heavy, thick with the scent of ozone and something else, something distinctly metallic, like old blood. She turns her head slowly, her gaze locking onto yours. You feel a cold dread seep into your bones. What secrets does she guard in the silence of the ascent? Welcome, seekers of the strange, to Room Beneath. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next stories. Tonight, we delve into an unsettling tale of a new beginning that quickly descended into a living nightmare. Moving into the old apartment building on Elm Street felt like stepping into a forgotten era. The air was thick with the scent of dust and aged wood, a quiet hum of decaying history. My new place, apartment 7B, was a spacious but slightly neglected gem on the 7th floor. The landlord, a jovial man named Mr. Henderson, had quickly pointed out the building's only functional elevator, an antique contraption of brass and wrought iron. He'd even offered to help with my boxes, but insisted I familiarize myself with the charming old relic for my own ease. I just wanted to get settled, but little did I know, the real welcome committee was waiting. I wrestled a particularly heavy box of books towards the elevator. The brass doors, surprisingly, slid open with a soft sigh. Inside, a woman stood by the controls, her back to me. She was dressed in a dark gray uniform, like something from a bygone era, with a high collar and brass buttons. I assumed she was part of the building staff, though Mr. Henderson hadn't mentioned an attendant. 7th floor, please, I said, struggling with the box. She turned slowly. Her face was pale, gaunt, framed by long, stringy black hair. Her eyes, sunken and dark, fixed on me without a flicker of emotion. She didn't speak, simply reached for the lever, and the elevator began its slow, creaking ascent. The silence was unnerving, heavy, far too long for just 7 floors. Over the next few days, I saw her almost every time I used the elevator. Always the same woman, always the same silent, watchful demeanor, always in that archaic uniform. She never offered a greeting, never made eye contact for more than a chilling second. It was like she was a fixture, a silent sentinel of the antiquated machine. I started taking the stairs more often, a 7-story trek that became preferable to her unsettling presence. One evening, after a grocery run, I decided to brave the elevator. She was there, of course. As the doors closed, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper brushed against my ear. Some floors are better left unvisited. I froze, but she merely stared straight ahead, her face impassive. Had I imagined it? The whisper gnawed at me. The next morning, I decided to ask Mr. Henderson about the elevator attendant. Surely he could shed some light on the strangely silent woman. I found him in the lobby, tending to a potted plant. "Mr. Henderson," I began, "about the elevator attendant, the woman in the gray uniform. Is she new? I've seen her quite a bit." He paused, watering can hovering. A slow, puzzled frown creased his face. "Elevator attendant, Miss Vance? There hasn't been one here in 50 years. This building's elevator has been fully automatic since the 1970s. My heart seized in my chest. He chuckled. Perhaps you saw a new tenant in a cosplay outfit. It happens. But I knew what I saw. I knew what I heard. And as I turned to look at the old brass elevator, its doors slowly began to slide open, revealing the empty, dark shaft within and a faint, lingering scent of ozone. Mr. Henderson's words echoed in my ears. No attendant for 50 years. The empty elevator shaft, the lingering scent of ozone. It was too real, too vivid to be a hallucination. My mind raced, grappling with the impossible. Was I losing my mind, or was there something truly sinister at play in apartment 7B? A cold dread settled deep in my bones, a feeling that this building held secrets far older and more terrifying than its charming facade suggested. I had to know more, had to understand what I was seeing. Sleep offered no escape. The image of the spectral attendant's gaunt face haunted my dreams. The next morning, fueled by a potent mix of fear and desperate curiosity, I decided to do some digging. I scoured the internet, searching for any mention of the building, its history, or any unusual occurrences. Most results were mundane, but one obscure forum post, buried deep, spoke of the silent guardian of the 7th floor. A local legend whispered among delivery drivers and former residents. It mentioned strange disappearances, lost souls in the building's past. A shiver ran down my spine, confirming my worst fears. The legend solidified the terror. Now, every creak of the old building, every distant hum sent my heart racing. I completely abandoned the elevator, opting for the arduous climb up 7 flights of stairs. But her presence wasn't confined to the lift. One evening, I heard a faint, rhythmic thump, thump, thump from the hallway outside my apartment. Peeking through the peephole, I saw nothing but the dim, empty corridor. Yet the distinct, metallic scent of ozone, the same from the elevator shaft, was unmistakable, seeping in under my door. She was here, close, a silent predator stalking her new prey. The fear had turned into a suffocating paranoia. I barricaded my door, slept with the lights on, and checked every shadow. But the building itself seemed to be conspiring against me. One afternoon, rushing to escape after an unsettling day, I found the main stairwell door locked from the outside. Panic seized me. My only option was the elevator. With trembling hands, I pressed the call button. The brass doors sighed open, revealing not the empty car I desperately hoped for, but the attendant, standing perfectly still, her pale face and sunken eyes fixed on me. Her lips, thin and bloodless, moved ever so slightly, a barely audible whisper escaping. Some floors are better left unvisited, especially the ones you can't leave. The whisper, cold and dry, seemed to suck the air from my lungs. The attendant stood before me, her sunken eyes drilling into mine, a silent promise of eternal imprisonment. The elevator doors remained open, revealing not the lobby, but an endless, swirling darkness beyond the threshold, a void where the hallway should have been. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird desperate to escape its cage. I had to get out. Every fiber of my being screamed for escape. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, I pushed past her, not caring if I touched her spectral form, and stumbled out into the familiar, blessedly solid corridor, the air now heavy with ozone and the scent of decay. I slammed my apartment door shut, fumbling with the deadbolt until it clicked home, my hands shaking violently. The image of the void beyond the elevator doors and the attendant's unwavering gaze seared into my mind. I paced my living room, the quiet hum of the old building now a menacing growl. The online legends hinted at lost souls, but what did that even mean? And what was behind those elevator doors? I remembered Mr. Henderson mentioning the building's age, its unique construction. My eyes fell on the old blueprints he'd left behind, tucked away in a drawer. Perhaps they held a clue, a forgotten space, a hidden shaft. Unfurling the brittle, yellowed blueprints, I spread them across my dining table. The complex lines and labels of the building's original design swam before my eyes. Floors 1 through 6 were straightforward, but the 7th floor, there was an anomaly. A small, unlabeled room, roughly where my apartment's spare closet was, connected to what looked like an old, disused service shaft, not the main elevator. It was marked only with a faded access point, "Do not use." As I traced the forgotten pathway, a chill wind seemed to sweep through my apartment, carrying a faint, mournful whisper. The forgotten, they wait. It felt like the attendant's spectral voice was inside my head. The access point on the blueprint aligned perfectly with the back of my small, rarely used linen closet. My heart pounded with a mixture of terror and morbid fascination. What could be behind there? With trembling fingers, I pushed aside stacks of towels, revealing a barely visible seam in the plaster, almost imperceptible. It wasn't a door, but a panel. As I pressed on it, a faint click echoed in the silence. The panel slowly gave way, revealing not another wall, but a narrow, dark opening leading into an impossibly black void. A cold, stagnant air, heavy with the stench of ancient dust and decay, washed over me, and from the darkness, 2 glowing, malevolent eyes slowly opened, fixing their gaze on mine. The malevolent eyes in the darkness. My breath hitched, a strangled gasp caught in my throat. Every instinct screamed to slam the panel shut, to pretend I hadn't seen. But a morbid fascination, a desperate need to understand the source of this pervasive dread, held me captive. The eyes, twin embers of pure malice, seemed to pull at me, promising secrets, ancient and terrible. As my vision adjusted slightly, the darkness beyond shifted, hinting at distorted, skeletal forms, whispers of the forgotten. A cold, spectral hand seemed to reach out, brushing against my outstretched fingers. With a primal scream barely escaping my lips, I recoiled, scrambling backwards from the opening. The panel, with a sickening groan, slid back into place, sealing the horrors within. My heart hammered, a frantic drum against my ribs, echoing the terrified thumping that seemed to reverberate from inside the wall. What had I seen? What was that place? I pressed myself against the opposite wall, gasping for air, the metallic scent of ozone now thick and suffocating in my apartment. The whispers started again, this time clearer, more insistent, a chorus of hushed, mournful voices speaking a language I almost understood. The voices, a ghostly symphony of despair, seemed to emanate from the linen closet, seeping through the plaster. I couldn't unsee the eyes, couldn't unfeel the icy touch. The building itself felt alive, its ancient bones groaning with unseen life. I tried to distract myself, to clean, to read, but every shadow seemed to writhe, every creak to whisper. Then the rhythmic thump, thump, thump started again, not from the hallway this time, but from inside my apartment, echoing from the very wall where the hidden panel lay. It was closer, more insistent, like a heart beating within the structure of my home. The thumping grew louder, more frantic, accompanied by the distinct, sickening sound of splintering wood. The panel in the linen closet, the one I had so desperately sealed, began to crack. Fine lines spread across the plaster, spiderwebbing outwards, illuminated by a faint, sickly green glow now emanating from within. A cold, guttural growl rumbled, deep and ancient, sending vibrations through the floorboards. Then, with a final violent crack, the panel burst inwards, splinters flying, revealing the void once more. But this time, it wasn't just eyes. A skeletal, clawed hand, unnaturally long and covered in decaying flesh, slowly emerged, reaching directly for me. The attendant's silent, watchful gaze seemed to fill my mind, a chilling internal whisper. "Welcome to the forgotten floor." The skeletal, clawed hand, unnaturally long and covered in decaying flesh, lunged from the void. My scream was ripped from my throat, a raw, primal sound that echoed in the suddenly suffocating silence of my apartment. I stumbled backward, tripping over my own feet, desperate to put distance between myself and the unspeakable horror emerging from the wall. The cold, guttural growl vibrated through the floorboards, a sound that seemed to come from the very foundations of the building, from the depths of a forgotten, ancient evil that was now fully awake. Before I could fully recover, the elongated fingers wrapped around my ankle, their grip icy cold and impossibly strong. A sharp, searing pain shot up my leg as the decaying flesh pressed against my skin. I thrashed wildly, kicking and screaming, but it was no use. The hand began to pull, slowly, inexorably, dragging me closer to the gaping maw in my wall. The void beyond pulsed with an unholy light, revealing glimpses of twisted, shadowy figures writhing in silent agony. A chorus of mournful whispers, now a cacophony of lost souls, filled my mind, their despair seeping into my very being. My fingernails scraped uselessly against the floorboards as I was dragged inch by agonizing inch towards the opening. The smell of decay and ozone was overwhelming, filling my lungs with every panicked breath. Just as my head neared the jagged edge of the broken plaster, a chilling silence fell over the whispers. Then her presence solidified. The attendant, silent and unwavering, stood in my living room just feet away. Her form more translucent than before, yet undeniably there. Her pale, gaunt face, framed by long, stringy black hair, held no expression, only those dark, sunken eyes fixed on my struggle. A silent, damning witness to my fate.